Prof, as we wind down, some are saying 2027 general elections, maybe Nigeria's last elections. What do you think?
I don't think so.
Because of the dark omens.
That's a bit of hyperbole. That kind of captures the significance and some of the omens that are evident in what's happening at the moment, and what appears, in my view, to be the manifest desire of the regime in power at the moment to not have competitive elections. To preclude competitive elections, preclude candidates on artificial, manufactured excuse from being able to compete, and then to have the incumbent declared announced unopposed. Well, I don't think he needs to do that. I don't think they need to go that hog. It's important, even if they want to rig elections, which I think they do, to be perfectly honest with you. But even if that's what they want to do, they even need the optics of a competition to make rigging sound.
Like you said, there are better, processes. They are better, professional, Maybe because the professional, I'm sorry to say this on live TV, people like the Anenis of this world who are masters of the game of, manufacturing election results and all of that. Maybe they're no longer.
But they still have people who can help them do that. They control INEC, they control the judiciary, which means, and they've voted quite significant sums to fund the election petition system. So they control also significant, not just goodwill, but patronage. All right, political patronage, judicial patronage. They're building mansions for judges, of justice of appeal, judges of the FCT High Court, and all of that. Those things are not donations, right? There's going to be payback.
Let me ask you. It will be bad if I don't ask you this. What's your take? 1 minute on amupitan, INEC. Professor Amupitan.
Josh was my mate in the law school.
Yeah, you said so, law school.
Yeah, he was my mate in the law school, and
are you proud of him?
I thought I knew enough to say he was a man of basic decency, which I've said publicly. In hindsight, I probably spoke too soon. The stuff that's happened in the INEC under his watch, quite a good bit of very disreputable stuff has happened in the INEC under his watch. And it's sad to see. Let me put it that way. I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Yeah. But it's really sad to see. You see, terrible things can happen. But as a leader of trying to build a credible institution, you've got to be firm about the fact, about what your ideals are. It does not mean you will achieve those ideals on day one, but you have processes that continue to be refined in pursuit of those ideals. Now, INEC conducted a sham of FCT elections under Professor Amupitan. And he was talking of the sham as an election. And a credible chair of the INEC would have said there are things that happened, would have acknowledged that there were things that happened that should not have happened. And we are going to institute processes of learning and inquiry to make sure they cannot happen again. Because if you cannot control for credibility in 6 area councils of FCT, how can you do elections at the national level? So that's my worry. At the moment, I've got to say I do not have the confidence that INEC, under the current leadership, can produce anything remotely resembling a credible election. I don't think it's configured. I don't think it's configured to do so.
Can you repeat that, please?
That I do not believe that INEC, under the current leadership of my brother and friend, Professor Josh Amupitan, can conduct a credible election in Nigeria in 2027. I don't.
That's damning.
And I say it with a lot of pain in my heart.
I start with Samson Itodo, in my opinion, someone who probably the leading authority on election matters in Nigeria. He said, I asked him point blank, I said, is INEC independent? He said, no.
Of course
INEC has always been a captured institution.
No, INEC under Professor Jega was not captured. No. I saw INEC up close and personal under Professor Jega. I saw INEC up close and personal under his successor. And I can say with hand on heart, no, nobody captured Atahiru Jega. And the man lived and breathed every day trying to do what was right.
What of Mahmoud Yakubu's INEC?
I cannot say that about him. I saw both up close and personal. So I'm not saying this was what somebody told me. This is what I saw, just based on what I saw. You can say Atahiru Jega did everything a person of credibility and good conscience could do to make INEC work. And you could see that in the progress. Now, if you look at the 2007 elections, which preceded him, right? About 86, just under 87% of the seats contested ended up in court. He had 10 months to organize the 2011 elections. That came down from just under 86% to 51%. that ended up in court. By 2015, that was the first time our presidential elections did not end up in court because everybody accepted the outcome, including the person who was declared loser. Everybody accepted the outcome. 43% of the seats contested in 2015 ended up in court. That was the first time that under 50% of the seats contested ended up in court. With 4 years to organize the 2019 elections, we climbed up to 56% under Mahmoud Yakubu's first election. 2023, we returned to 82.5%, ending up in court. That tells you something about the Jega era, right? And I do think that but part of this is also that what this is meant is the pattern of transferring responsibility to determine winners and losers of election is now settled. It's a judicial thing, not for the voters. Until we return that to the voters, what we call democracy in Nigeria is civilian government.
Last question, Chidi. 2027 general elections. The opposition parties, NDC, Peter Obi, ADC, Atiku Abubakar, SDP, Adebayo Adewale, Shewore, and all of them, Donald Duke, they all have, this determination to unseat President Tinubu. In your mind, is there any scenario where you have reflected deeply and you have come to the conclusion that this attempt to unseat President Tinubu democratically, has become much difficult, has become Achillean?
Well, first of all, we don't know who the candidates will be. As a matter of law, we don't at this time know who the candidates
because
will
all of
be.
them have cases in court.
Not necessarily. Now, we've got this anomaly, that's what I call it, which is deliberate in the electoral calendar adopted in the 2025 Electoral Act. Or is it 2026?
2026.
Electoral Act, right? And so the party primary season has ended at the end of May, right?
Yes,
correct.
And then
we have a 3-month hiatus before the
campaign starts,
before INEC.
Yeah.
Then publishes. So they've now opened the portal for upload of the candidates, and you're seeing the changes between the outcomes and the substitutions. And so there's going to be quite a good bit of litigation on these issues. So it's difficult at this time to say who the candidates will be or will not be, but because the uploads were not happening as the primary was finishing, it meant that you now have these. Nigerians like to use the expression mago-mago. And when I say mago-mago, it's better than any fine English language I can use. But there's a lot of, this is mago-mago season, right? And this season of subterfuge and, all of that means that we've got to wait for a while before we know who the candidates are going to be. Obviously, if you go back to the decision of the Supreme Court in Rotimi Amaechi's case in 2008, the Supreme Court claimed that it's parties who run for office, not candidates. Although, they've also created a lot of confusion in that jurisprudence. So, do I see a scenario in which it's possible the ruling party is stuffed out? I'm not Babalawo, I'm not a clairvoyant, and speaking honestly, it's not my place to say yes or no to that. I do recognize that President Tinubu is not President Jonathan. His infrastructure and his values his political values are different. Let me put it that way. And so the standard and the challenge of turning him over is a lot steeper, a heck of a lot steeper. And I don't think it's going to be easy by any chance for anybody trying to do that. Let me be quite clear. That infrastructure includes a lot of organized crime. Whether it's happening with his direct instruction or not is not relevant for my purpose. But there are lots of people doing lots of things there in that infrastructure of power who should not be in active circulation, civilized circulation, but they are. And that's really what it is. So that means there is a higher bar, and that is why I think in the course of this conversation, I've said, and I think you're also of the same view, that the opposition are not doing half enough to create the level of worry. Because ultimately, any administration or regime that loses power, it ultimately votes itself out. And the only way you can get them to be in that position is to put them under such pressure, they begin to amass unforced political errors. At this time, I do not believe that the Tinubu dispensation is under enough political pressure to amass the kind of debt or deficit.
Like this one that shall never yes, so. Yes, according to this man who they call Professor Odinkalu, you understand? He said that amupitan, this Shema, he said he was a classmate in law school, you understand? So he later proceeded that he said he cannot conduct a credible election, you understand? He narrate everything, you get me? So I believe you understand. According how the matter narrate everything, you understand? So what means the thought is that to defend Tinubu, you understand? You need to run man, as in you don't need like person like Tinubu, you don't need soft hand. You need to man mentally, spiritually, or otherwise, because before you feel defend this man, you understand? That's the main fact. Because I see all this all opposition party, they know the kind of energy we Nigeria need. They know the project them. You understand? They know the project them. You get me? So that is it. Well, if you believe this man, so drop your comments under the conversation. I'm also able to share one of Sugar Boy.